As I was trying all these different techniques that failed, they didn't really fail because they taught me something as I was moving along. Then I went to the paper internet and I started learning more things and understanding things in a way that made more sense to me. Finally, through all of this, I found something called brainwave entrainment. After everything that failed, this brainwave entrainment seemed to me to be, I think this has some bearing on what's going on, because I was on a camping trip. And at the time, I couldn't sleep unless I was wasted. So, I was drinking my face off on the trip. Everybody else had gone to bed. And I rolled myself a big, thick joint. And I smoked it. And normally this joint would have lasted me half an hour. So we're talking about midnight. I figure I should be really stoned, really wasted by 12:30. I'll go to bed. By the time I finished the joint, it was like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. It shouldn't have taken that long. Exactly. Time had never passed fast for me, ever, under any condition. Interestingly enough, I feel like even today, I feel like I'm about almost 1,000 years old. If any of you have felt sad before, upset, or even depressed for a few minutes, my experience at least was that time moved excruciatingly slowly. That's why I feel like I'm 1,000 years old, because 40 years of feeling depressed nonstop. And I went from depression to what I call super depression. When I recovered from the super depression, I went back to my regular depression. So I was sitting around this fire and time passed fast for the first time in my life. First time. And it kind of scared me at first. But then I thought, wait a minute. The way I was thinking was changing. Something happened. Well, I was sitting around a campfire, and I wasn't looking at it because most of the time I had my hands on my forehead, my head, and my knees. What happened was the wood was really dry. And if any of you know anything about fires, when you're sitting around a campfire or in a fireplace, if the wood is really dry, there's little openings, and the air expands, and it pops the wood. You hear pop, 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 pop. It's almost like popcorn. I made the correlation that sound is what made me feel differently. When I got back from the camping trip, of course, I went right back to the paper internet again, and I started researching. How does sound affect the psyche? How does sound affect neurology? How does it affect neurochemistry? How does it affect this? How does it affect mood? And that's when I got introduced to brainwave entrainment. And I thought, finally, something that crosses the eye, crosses the T's and dots the I's. But when I tried what existed, it didn't help, didn't do anything. Something nagged inside my brain and said, it should have helped.